back to another video from here, the Temple of Cornwall. So those of you who may not know who I am, my name is Rebecca Burgess and I am the creatrix and mother priestess of the Temple of Cornwall, as well as being an oracle, a writer, a speaker and a sacred celebrant. So this video, I thought we'd take a different kind of, or I would take a different approach to this video. Usually I've had like a theme in mind for most of the week, and I've, got like not a full script, but like a rough idea of what I want to talk about and how I want to talk about it. This week, I thought I would just grab my cup of, so if you can hear the police. There we go. Nope, still going. There we go. Grab my cup of red raspberry leaf tea and just talk to you about something that's been on my mind, really. Just musings and whatever comes forth, we shall see. So this, I'm going to say for the past week, maybe 2 weeks, I'm not sure, but roughly about 2 weeks, I've been thinking about how much flack the reality, I was going to say the idea or the notion, the absolute reality of being human gets a lot of flack in the spiritual community. And I'm never sure why, really. I never have been. I've never been able to follow that logic. If this is your belief that being human is a detriment to your spirituality or your faith, then that's fine. You crack on. This is, like I said, just my musings and my opinion on this kind of theme, this motif, if you like. So yeah, I've never been able to follow the logic that, well, being a human is a detriment. I need to be this pure star being. I need to have no human in me. I need to have no human DNA, no human thoughts, no human emotions, nothing that is... It's almost like being human is an obscene thing, is sinful, not in like the Christian way, but like a spiritualized way, that being human is sinful, and in a Christianized way, really, if you're being honest, but that's a whole different conversation. Yeah, so it's very demonized to be human in the wider scope of the spiritual community. And it's the main logic that gets kind of put forward for this reasoning, in my kind of experience, is that it's, we are not human at our core. It is unnatural for us to be human. It's a burden to be human. The human world will get you down. The 3D world will drag you down with it. There's no stopping it. All you can do is kind of doggy paddle and kind of swim towards safety, whether safety to them means, Sirius or a certain different planet or a different kind of, Atlantean race or something like that, which are all very important, very valid parts of spirituality. But that idea of just trying to get through the human life as best as you can, just trying to survive it because this isn't our natural state. Well, no, but being some star being isn't our natural state. Being a mermaid wouldn't be our natural state. Our natural state is pure energy, is pure cosmos. So we are never going to be able to materialize in that sense until we are between lives, or we have stopped that cycle completely. So it's why, in my head, I'm always thinking, why is being human a detriment? Why is it always, I can't wait till I'm a star being again, sod being human? And I think, the human world has many, many flaws, granted. But I think that's part of the challenge, almost, like that we have come to this planet at this time, and any previous times that we've been here. We've come into that time to help either be a part of the change or be the thing that needs changing, being both sides of the coin. So being, the politician who's very right-wing and damaging, and then being the activists who are very left-wing and very full of change and hope and future joy, or whatever it might be, or like the French nobles and the French rebellions, and two different sides of the coin. So I think we're here to experience that divide, that polarity. But then if we do that consciously, if we consciously experience that divide, then we can consciously come back into union. We can understand the other side's, maybe not understand, be compassionate towards them. We can better be in union with ourselves, our inner masculine and feminine, being in better union with those around us in our immediate communities, so like the family members that we choose or have, our friends, our beloveds, our lovers, whoever. and the wider community of the collective as well, being in union with them and what they need and what their, how they choose to experience this life, your way of experiencing their experience, if that makes sense to you. Yeah, I think it's such an honor and a privilege to be human at any time. And as scary as it is to be, in a human body playing at being human at this time, I think this is, I was going to say part of the fun, and that's not quite right. That's trivializing an awful lot of issues, which is not what I intend to do. But it's, we are not dulled. Our spirituality is not dulled. Our connection to consciousness, cosmos, source, deities, whatever you like, is not as dulled as other people would have you believe. And the thing is, these are people that are, I'm not thinking of anyone in particular, so I'm not talking about anyone in particular, but these people who put forward this notion that being human is wrong or horrible in some way, tend to be coaches of some kind or another that charge an awful lot of money for you to just feel bad about your most very basic nature, which is, yes, you're a human. Why? I don't know why. I know that's a different rant for a different time. But yeah, it's always people that have an ulterior motive, shall we say, that kind of spout forth this idea that being human is wrong and a detriment to your spirituality. It's not. It's an enhancer. Like, yes, we're not as connected to divinity as we once were, but we can make the conscious choice to become that connected again. And we're not as connected as our spirit guides are, but we can make the conscious effort with our spirit guides' help to become just as connected, or connected in a different way. That's all it is. It's a different way of connecting with the divine. And I think that's part of the many reasons why we come to experience being human. It's how, in this very solid matter state, can we experience the divine and express the divine through our bodies in whatever way we choose, whatever way we feel called to. Like, if you think of the 5 or 6, I read somewhere the 7 senses the other day. I've not looked into that, but the 6 senses. We go with 5 because they're the most well known, although we all know there's a 6. But yeah, the 5 senses, that's our pathway to divinity in my eyes. That's the way we kind of experience the divine. So some of us, it might be all 5 senses. Some of us, it might be 1 or 2. And it's, if you think of, I've got to remember them all now. So touch, like the touch of a lover is the touch of the divine. The pleasure that we feel in our bodies, our minds, and our souls is very real. It's might not be physically tangible, but it sure as hell feels like it sometimes. You cannot convince me that pleasure and sexuality is not related to divinity. You cannot convince me that using my body that way is not me expressing my connection to divinity and how divinity flows through me. Same with food. Like, I love to cook. I love real, well-made food, whether it's gourmet Michelin starred or somebody's grandma's top secret recipe for scones or whatever it is. Both are valid, both are wonderful. The way we imbue food with our love, the way we cook with such intention and almost purity of spirit, is a beautiful thing. Like, yes, eating McDonald's every night is not going to connect you to the divine, far from it. But eating, like I was saying, intentional food, eating intentionally food that is either of a higher vibration, whatever that means to you and your vibrational state, or you've made it yourself and you've cast a spell on it while you were cooking, or whatever it might be. That is a way to experience and express the divine, the deities that you work with in the cosmos in general. So touch, taste, smell. Oh, the smell of spikenard. You cannot convince me that that is not divinity in a smell. You cannot convince me that that does not take you back to times way beyond our comprehension. You cannot convince me that when I smell that, I am not connected to Mary Magdalene. You cannot convince me that when I'm anointing my beloved friends' bodies who have just passed over, that is not a sacred act of service when I'm anointing them with the spikenard oil and cleaning their body. You can't convince me that that is not me connecting and expressing the divine through me with that sense of smell. So touch, smell, taste, sight. Oh, sight. Oh my goodness. How can you look at a puppy and tell me magic doesn't exist? Like, I cannot fathom that sort of comprehension. When you walk through the woodland, especially at this time of year, in the northern hemisphere anyway, and you can see the leaves start to change colour slowly but surely, going from like the brightest greens all the way through to like the brightest oranges, the boldest reds, the crispest browns and golds. That is divine. That is cosmological beauty at its finest. And the artists who create visual pieces, phenomenal. When I first saw Botticella's Primavera in person, that was a religious experience for me. And I use the word religious very cautiously because religion and spirituality are two very different things. But to me, that was a religious experience. I was taken somewhere else, and that place was totally and utterly sacred. And the important thing is that place was within myself, within my human body, and that was completely out of this world, but still very human and impactful upon my humanness, if you like. Like the pre-Raphaelites, they were, just everything is so beautiful when it comes to sight. Everything is divine. Even the horrors, the divine has a good and a bad, if you want to take the polar view of things. Every deity, like Lilith has her demonic side, Lilith has her empowering side. Mary Magdalene has her whorish side, depending who you talk to. And Mary Magdalene has her very sensual, healing, devotional side. Everything has a good and a bad. Not that being a whore is wrong. That was just an example. Just putting that out there. And where's I going with this? I've lost track. I was trying to correct myself and I lost track. Bear with me. Yes, so we've done sight, taste, touch. Have we done touch? Yes, touch, scent. Am I going mad? Either way, you get the point. You get the point. Everything that we do as a human is either an experience of the divine or an expression of the divine. Sometimes both at the same time. That's when you're channeling. That's when you're hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling, whatever, the divine, and then expressing that as it comes. Hearing. Hearing. Led Zeppelin. How can you sit there and listen to getting too passionate, I can't talk. How can you sit there and listen to Led Zeppelin and tell me this isn't divine, this isn't a God-given talent, this isn't Robert Plant's expression of the divine that he's in touch with, this isn't John Bonham's expression of how he experiences the divine? You cannot convince me. When I was first creating this is relevant, I promise. When I was first creating the Temple of Cornwall, it was still gestating in me. I was still conceiving it and growing the ideas and everything that came with it. I was having, as you would imagine, an awful lot of very intense dreams, all about either my past lives as a priestess or priests, priestesses, whatever it might have been, and how I did that. Or it was through different ways to different sacred moments and places throughout human history. And one of those places and times really surprised me, but then when I woke up, I was initially surprised it was a lucid dream, to be fair, so whilst I was having the dream, slightly surprised, but then when it started to all kind of come together, I was like, I'm not at all surprised. That actually makes an awful lot of sense. So the dream was, I can't remember the exact date, but a very famous Led Zeppelin concert in America in the 70s, early 70s, 71. Either way, very, very, famous, well-known one, very big one. And I was looking at this concert happen from the perspective of like a pigeon that had got, stuck up in the rafters of the stadium or the concert hall or whatever it was. I was just chilling, and I was able to watch, the stage was empty to begin with, and then all the crowds started coming in, supporting acts, and then Led Zeppelin came. And the second Robert Plant stepped his foot in front of the microphone and started to sing, the energy changed. Something profound happens every time when that man sings. He might not, it's Led Zeppelin, he probably does, but he might not be aware, or even quantify his voice as being his expression of the divine, but that's how I see it, and that's how I connect with Led Zeppelin to then connect with my divinity and my connection to the divine. And yeah, so he stepped out onto the stage, started singing, and everybody got goosebumps. That the whole energy of the room changed with the first resonance of the sound that came from his lips. Everything was different. Everything was sacred. And everyone was just enraptured by this man's presence, but it was more the presence that he was embodying, the presence of the divine or whatever deity he might be working with at the time, whether consciously or unconsciously, whatever beautiful thing that man was doing at the time. It was the sacred awareness of pure expression of divinity. And that's precisely, so I got really romantic about it all. You can't get romantic about Robert Plant, though. Wonderful man. Yeah, and that was one of the really intense dreams I was having when I was creating this temple, and that really changed my perspective. Then that's when I started to first be consciously aware of how much flack being human gets, and how it absolutely doesn't deserve that, because humanity as a whole, we have Robert Plant amongst us, the man who can connect himself and us to the divine in just a chant, a sound, a mere manipulation of his vocal cords. How amazing is that? How incredible is it to be human that happens? We have the likes of Botticelli amongst us, of all the local Cornish artists, that all of them are amazing. My God, how blessed are we that the artists amongst us to be able to sculpt, draw, paint, watercolor, wash, everything. We can manipulate materials, the physical materials that are so demonized by some in the spiritual community. How blessed are we to be amongst those people, or be those people that can do the artwork, that can express the divine there, that we can see ourselves in the art, or our deities, or our beloved lands, or anything. How amazing is that? How incredible is it to be amongst chefs and cooks and bakers and people that can make you a really hearty loaf of bread that helps heal you when you've got a cold? How blessed are we to be the chefs that get to cook for those people in our community, show them love, show them our care, show how much we care for the land by using her materials so graciously and so amazingly. We're blessed for that reason. How blessed, I've got to remember now. How blessed are we to be able to express our sexuality in hopefully any way that we want, and our sensuality. I really hope that you're in a part of the world and surrounded by people that let you express your sensuality safely and securely and in any way that you want, consensually. I really hope that that's a reality for you, because it's how blessed are we to be loved and be the lovers. How blessed are we to be surrounded by beloveds and be able to use our bodies in a way to express our love to those people, whether it's the act of lovemaking, or, holding hands while you're watching Emmerdale, or placing a blanket over the other one's knee, or whatever sex is to you. How blessed are we that we're able to do that for ourselves and for other people? And how blessed are we to be able to be surrounded by scents that literally transport us to different places, times, and lives. This is all phenomenal, super sacred superpowers, literally at our fingertips, tongue tips, eyes, ears, everything. And we are so quick to dismiss it as like, yeah, but I'm not an alien starseed race, so what's the point? That's the point. The point is to be human and to experience the divine in that way, because it's so magical. it's so utterly blissful when you let it be, when you kind of acknowledge how amazing it is to be human. And that's not to say that whilst being human, you can't also experience being the galactic starseed Syrian being that you are as well. It also, you can't, it's not saying you can't connect to any other aspect of yourself, but whilst we are very firmly in the human world, enjoy it. Really surrender into your own humanness, your own humanity, and you'll really start to see how more peaceful your spiritual practice becomes. And by that I mean how much more there'll be less resistance to it. In those days where you wake up and like, I know I should be doing like a 1 hour transcendental guided meditation right now, but I just don't have the energy. Beautiful. Go make yourself a cup of tea, set a little intention over it, go back to bed. Pub's your uncle. That's your morning meditation. And sometimes it is right to have the hour-long astral projection. I've just put my shawl into my herbal tea. Oh dear. Sometimes it is right, good and proper to go off and have that big meditation. And sometimes it's right, good and proper to have your cup of tea with your little spell incantation over it and relax and just surrender into your humanness. Sometimes, put on Florence and the Machine and have a dance. Sometimes create your own music with crystal bowls and toning and chanting or sacred drums. It's all good and proper. It's whatever you feel called to do at that specific time, and that will change every time you come to your spiritual practice. But when you accept and allow your humanness to come into your spiritual practice, everything gets so much easier, I promise you. If there's been like an aspect of spirituality you've been wanting, or have been trying, but haven't quite been able to reach whatever point you thought you might be able to reach, to take astral projection for example. Say you've been training hours how to do that, you've been doing all the steps right, you've been doing everything, but something just isn't clicking, you're not getting to whatever point you've deemed yourself to then be successful at astral projection. When you kind of really accept your humanness and bring that into your spiritual practices, it's really weird, you'll start at that successful point because you've taken out all the blocks that were stopping you getting there. That block of, if I was some Atlantean high priestess, this would be so easy. Yeah, it would, but it's also incredibly easy to do it as a human. So when you take that block out of, God, I hate being human, God, it's horrible, why can't I just be da-da-da-da-da, you start at the amazing place of being able to do, astral projection or whatever it is that's relevant to you. And it all just becomes so effortless, easy, magical, and delicious. And it really is a beautiful and powerful thing that I think more people need to be aware of and talk about and work on themselves as well, especially the people that demonize it a lot. I think they had the most work to do on themselves, and why they think or believe, that being human is so horrible and should be, a shameful thing almost. It's weird, as I've been like verbalizing it throughout this video, I've realized almost how dogmatic some people take that view. It's a very like Christianized view that people take on it, even if they're full on yoga Shatki teachers of blissful union, which is a lovely thing. But yeah, they almost take that very dogmatic, organized religious approach to being human, which is something that most of us in the spiritual community, we sought out the spiritual community because we didn't like organized religion for that very reason, that it is so dogmatic, so very demonizing of our physicality, but not teaching us the ways to connect with our divinity at the same time, which hopefully I've shed some light on for you here. So yeah, I'm just trying to think of examples I can give you of how to like embrace your humanness and accept that more. Obviously shadow work and journal work, if you like that, then you'll kind of you'll know what steps to take with that, to kind of broach this topic with yourself, but more use your 5 senses. Obviously you've got your 6th sense, and don't neglect that, but you'll find that the more you embrace and enhance the other senses in your life, the 6th one will kind of pop off in a beautiful magical way you won't have to concentrate on that so much. It will just naturally be at a more open state anyway. So yeah, try baking or cooking, or really maybe try like a week or two of eating food that's really good for you. And I don't mean like only eat blended kale and spirulina and that's it. I mean, if that works for you, then do it. But more, eating intentional food with intention, whatever that means to you, maybe try that. Really make a playlist of sacred songs. So like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this. Sacred songs, and I don't mean just like the mantras and the meditation pieces, or can't talk, solfeggio frequencies. Put those on there as well, but also like the Led Zeppelins. Like I've got a whole playlist devoted to the Spirit of Cornwall, and it's got everything from Madonna, obviously Led Zeppelin, Fleetwood Mac. It's got very, like traditional spiritual music and very not traditional spiritual music. Some Pendulum, if anybody, probably the millennials, remember Pendulum. Oh their first album, I think. That whole playlist is basically that that album. And it's, how does which music, talks to you and takes you to that divine place or reminds you of a divine place or time. Surround yourself with scents that make you think of sacred things. So that might be lavender for some of you, could be more citrus scents for others. Like I was saying before, spikenard for me in my spiritual work is very prevalent. So I would use that to connect my sense of smell to the divine and my expression of the divine. And try making your own perfume as well. You just need a little bit of any sort of oil you've got, to be honest, but coconut oil is probably best because its base doesn't smell, and it's got it solidifies quite nicely as well. So make yourself like a solid perfume with that. Just take a little bit of that, melt it down, and add in whatever essential oils you want. This could, you could make a particular mix to help with something, so like divination, or you could just make something that smells really nice to you, something that smells utterly sublime or is inspired by a deity yours, like Morgana Le Fay or whoever. You could do that. So done food. Oh, dance. If you want to like express yourself physically, like with touch, dance. Or if you've got a partner who's also into spirituality, try making love to them. Try love magic in that way together, and see how that connects you both and individually to the divine as well. And I swear I'm missing one or two, but you catch my drift. You can make the profane sacred, make your humanness sacred, because it already is. You just need to remind yourself of that. So did not expect to be talking for around 30 minutes. When I sat down, I was like, this is going to be really bad. It's going to be about 5 minutes of me going, just be human. Apparently I had a lot to say on the topic, so that's good. It obviously means other people needed to hear this. So that's amazing. Very happy with that. Amazing. So thank you for sitting through this other video with me. Let me know what your thoughts are on this whole topic of being human or not being human. Drop it in the comments below. I'm really interested to see your opinions and your ideas about this as well. I think it's a really interesting way to look at humanity from like a psychological point of view, but that's just my little nerd brain going. But let me know. I'll be super interested. So yes, thank you for being here, and I will see you. What am I doing next week? Probably be another video next week. It'll be a surprise for all of us. I'm quite liking this idea of just sitting down and picking a topic and going through it. Also let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about anything else in particular. That'd be really fun to see what you guys want me to talk to you about as well. So yes, thank you again, and lots of Cornish temple blessings and sacredness to you all.